Ciao ragazzi, oggi parliamo di caffè. Let's see how ordering coffee in Italy actually works and how to do it like a true local. Ordering coffee in Italy is a great way to experience the real Italian lifestyles and to practice the language. That's why so many students get ready for their upcoming trip to Italy by learning names for coffees in Italian and basic phrases like, for example, un espresso per favore or vorrei un cappuccino. But when they actually go to an Italian bar, because that's the cafe in Italian, and they start interacting with il barista or la barista, then things suddenly become confusing. So you may end up feeling less confident switching back to English and missing the opportunity to really enjoy this experience. Now, this is such a common problem because, as it often happens, there's a difference between textbooks and real life when actually using your Italian. So you might have learned standard phrases and vocabulary that work in textbooks, but they are not really used in real life. And also, they might not have prepared you for handling some parts of the conversation, like understanding and replying to the barista's questions or handling special requests. So you might feel at a loss in these kind of situations. So, what you need is to learn about the typical steps of an authentic bar experience, bar italiano, including the real customs, the real phrases and questions that Italians actually use, so you will be able to ace your next visit. So, let me show you exactly what I mean, as always, step by step. Step numero uno, placing your order. The most common way to order coffee in Italy is actually very, I would say, extremely simple. We just say un caffè. So let me type this for you. Un caffè. So what happens is usually when you get into a cafe, the barista will usually greet you, buongiorno, salve, and you will of course greet them too back. So, oh, buongiorno, and then you simply say what you want. Buongiorno, un caffè. That's it. But here is one of those differences between textbooks and real life. In Italy, no native Italian says un espresso when they're ordering alla caffè because un caffè already means espresso. We know that's the one that you get at the bar, so we don't say that. So we just say un caffè, and of course, you're going to get your espresso. Now, if you're more than one, so you want to ask for more than one thing, you can just simply list the things that you want. Per esempio, un caffè, e un cappuccino. Buongiorno, buongiorno, un caffè e un cappuccino. That's it. If you're getting your order at the table, then you can also use a phrase I always recommend to students, which is to say per me. So, per me un caffè, per lei, for her, un cappuccino, or per lui, for him, un altro caffè. So this saying per me, per lei, per lui also helps the waiter to know who is getting what. So that's another option that you have. Step numero due, customizations. Now, a common request is for decaf coffee, and that in Italian is decaffeinato, which is quite a mouthful. Let me type this for you. Un decaffeinato, but you can just shorten that to un deca, un deca. And you can also ask, for example, for un cappuccino deca, so a decaf cappuccino. Another common request is for lactose-free or dairy-free milk. And nowadays it's super easy to get those in Italian cafes, even in smaller towns, I've noticed. So what you can ask is this. Let's suppose you want a cappuccino with vegetable milk. That would be un cappuccino con latte vegetale. You can be more specific and say what type of milk you want, but not everyone carries different type of vegetable milks. The most common one is soy milk, so it would be un cappuccino con latte di soia. There are other options. I've included them in the PDF for this lesson. So another thing you could say is a cappuccino without lactose, so lactose free, for example. And so you may not want a vegetable milk, you just want milk without lactose, lactose free milk. That would be un cappuccino senza lattosio. So my point here is this: whenever you ask for special request, con, with, and senza are the two key words that you need to remember, because con means with and senza means without or free, like sugar free, senza zucchero, lactose free, senza lattosio. Ok, step numero 3. Barista questions. So the questions that the barista may ask you. Once you place your order, usually the first common question, and many students are not prepared for this, is this one. So the barista will ask you, lo scontrino? What is that? Now, lo scontrino is the Italian word for the receipt, because usually in Italy you pay first and get your receipt, lo scontrino, show that to the barista, and then you get your coffee. So if you haven't paid yet, the barista will tell you something like, prima lo scontrino, per favore. The receipt first, please. So you go pay and have you get your scontrino and show that to the barista. Now, another standard question that the baristas always ask is the one regarding water, l'acqua. In Italy, coffee is usually served with a small glass of water. That's the standard. So be prepared, because they will ask you whether you prefer your water still or sparkling. So they will ask you, acqua naturale o frizzante? Do you want still water, acqua naturale, or frizzante, so sparkling water? And another common way to say this, I'm going to show you this because you may hear this one too, is acqua liscia o gasata. So acqua liscia is another way of saying acqua naturale, still water, and gasata is another way of saying frizzante, which means sparkling water. So what do you reply? Just reply liscia, grazie, or frizzante, grazie, and you will be good to go. Now, let me know if you have ever ordered coffee in Italy and maybe you felt unsure about what to say when the barista started asking questions, or if you noticed any of those questions. Let me know in the comments. Now, going back to our phrases, there is a point that I want to really make today. Ordering coffee in Italy is usually not a long conversation. We usually just say what we want, and you will probably never hear an Italian say vorrei un caffè per favore in this specific context. Now, I know this can be surprising, but it's actually a great thing from a learning perspective, because ordering coffee in Italian can be one of the very first and most rewarding experiences that you can have when learning the language, even if you are a total beginner. Now, if you fears not something polite, not sounding polite enough, then you can just add grazie, say grazie when ordering or when they handle your order at the table. So, per esempio, un cappuccino, grazie. Or if the barista says cappuccino per me, grazie, you will be perfectly polite and and you will sound very natural and native. And by the way, if you want to easily review today's lesson, then don't forget to check out the PDF that I prepared for this video. In the PDF, I've included a helpful recap of the steps and the key phrases for each step that we're learning today. But as a bonus, I've also added a list of common coffees that you can order in Italy, including the less well-known ones like, for example, caffè d'orzo or caffè leccese, buonissimo, by the way, with the explanation in English of what they are. So you can download it using the link in the description below this video. And as always, it's totally free. Now, something else I want to share with you about this topic is that one thing that surprises many visitors is that coffee at the counter and coffee at the table often have very different prices in Italy. If you drink your coffee standing at the bar, so we say, let me type this for you, al bancone, okay, then it might cost around €1, well, a little bit more nowadays, but that's about the cost. But if you sit at a table, al tavolo, especially in tourist areas, then the price can be much higher. So when you will see your scontrino, remember your receipt, your tuo scontrino, you will notice an extra fee that's usually called servizio that's been added to your bill. That is not a tip, it's just the extra cost for being served at the table. So for your next visit to Italy, just remember the 3 steps of a typical bar interaction and keep your sentences short, and you will master ordering coffee in Italy in no time. And if you enjoyed this video, I have more videos covering other typical situations like this one. For example, ordering at a restaurant with the phrases that you need. So check out the description for the links. And that's all for today. I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao!